So, I'm lucky these days that I get to come up on stage like this and talk about cool stuff like startups and innovation and crushing it and all the cool stuff we do at Figment and with all the worthy makers and doers in Pittsburgh. And when I was asked to do this talk at a stage I've been on before, and the topic was failure, I think there are no coincidences. I think we all have a plan. And I think that it's when we get off that plan that we end up having more stories to do on stages like Failure Lab. So, I wanted to own it, and I wanted to talk about something that mattered. So I know I had to dig deep. I have some material, right? I've been fired by a governor. I've been kicked out of prep school, botched business deals. I've screwed up relationships. I've got enough material. But I really wanted to get to something that, I guess, scared me the most, that mattered. And I thought might land well with you guys. So I'm going to open the kimono a little bit, so I apologize for the front rows, and get to the heart of the matter. So maybe a backstory. So I'm a born Pittsburgher, born and raised. And please, simple applause is the best. But I built some companies here. I was lucky enough to be some of that. And then in the early 2000s, I went to Chicago to help to build some companies out there. And while I was there, I trained and studied at some of the best acting and improv schools in the world, like Second City and Improv Olympic and Annoyance Productions. And during my 10 years there, my sister got married. And that weekend, the whole family was coming around from around the country. And they had never seen me perform, so they were going to come and see me perform. And I had done sold-out shows around Chicago and made stage and stuff, but this show meant a lot to me. My whole family got to see me. As a kid, I went away, so my parents never got to see me play varsity sports or any of the acting I'd done, so this was amazing. So that night, we all went out, and it was a big celebration. There was tons of wine and amazing food, and there was just tons of wine and more food and shots, toasts, and more wine, and more beer, and you get it. So by the time I left this celebration, I was pretty tuned up. And I get to the theater, and I shake it off, and we have this performance that to an unwitting observer, was amazing, right? I killed all the scenes. It was hysterical. I stole the show. Everybody laughed, and as the troupe went backstage after the show, to roarous laughter, including my family's, I was terribly embarrassed because in improv, that's not the scene, right? It's not about you. The scene's about making the other person look good. It's about performing for the truth. It's not about being drunk and self-involved and making it the kid show. So what looked like out there, an amazing performance, I knew to the people that knew better, including my fellow performers, it was embarrassing because I made it about me and I wasn't listening, active listening, kind of the core of improv. And that metaphor kind of stuck with me as I was thinking about tonight. And so sometimes in my life, I've made it the kid show and I haven't listened, and I've let my addictions feed some of my actions. And never more true was that than a few years ago. I guess you should know, I came back to Pittsburgh about 5 years ago. In 2010, my stepdad, mother, and dad all died in 1 year. And I had come back to take care of the estate and my mom and stuff. And I hadn't really dealt with what that meant in 1 year. I dealt with, I think, the way that some people do, and that was don't talk about it, use our defense mechanisms, self-medicate. And I never really dealt with the anger and the bitterness and the sadness that I had. And it all kind of culminated in an evening when I went out. It was actually right in this neighborhood. We were celebrating something. I was thinking about it. I don't know what we were celebrating, but I was wearing a suit, so it had to be involving some type of financial transaction. I don't wear suits much. And so we were going around every bar you can possibly walk around, literally around here. And the whole group was out. We were out from 4 o'clock in the afternoon all the way out. And we were out. It was fun. It was great. Every bar, we'd go bar hopping. And the group, as it normally does, the day was waning, so the group kind of itself waned. And there were 3 of us left out. We're still going out. And we went to this party, and it's still too late. And we're at this condo up in Shadyside. And at the time, when I have a little too much to drink, I'd have this personal escape mechanism where I would pull a Houdini, and I'd just leave. And so I was hammered, and I leave this party, and I'm in this haze, and I don't really know where I am, but I kind of lived in that neighborhood before, so I'm in this condo building, and I think I'm going back to the right door and everything, and anyway, I open the door, and I make myself at home, and I go to sleep on the couch, and about, I guess, a couple hours later, I'm awoken to the business end of a service revolver of a very angry Pittsburgh policeman, and the very scared family in the unit that I had gone to sleep in and passed out. And I spent the next 7 hours in the back of the squad car as they went and collected the other people that had made some stupid mistakes that evening. And I spent the next 3 days in a packed cell full of hundreds of people that had made bad mistakes, thinking about every single decision that had got me there that night, how I had been so self-involved, how I had fed into my addictions, how I'm in a cell, in a good-looking suit, with all the poor decisions behind me. How did I get here?